And we are live. Welcome back to the RINO podcast, live on X. Caitlin, any big news?
Donald Trump won the presidential election last night. He will be the next president of the United States, and he won the popular vote, which is something that we have not won since 2004.
Does it count now?
What do you mean?
Does it count now? Because before it didn't count. And
Well,
people wanted to scrap the Electoral College.
No. So I think it counts towards a mandate.
Yeah.
But
very strong mandate.
Yeah, it doesn't count towards actually.
It doesn't mean anything. You're right. Perfect. It's like I said. Well, like I tweeted out a couple days ago, the day before the election. I'm like, your vote in a blue state doesn't really matter at all because we live in a constitutional republic, a representative democracy. But if we get the popular vote, it'll make the right people sad and mad. Speaking of which, lots of meltdowns. Lots of people are thinking they're going to be, and in all sincerity, think they're going to be thrown into camps. They have lost all their rights. Evil has won. They cannot. You want me to tolerate somebody who doesn't believe I should exist? It's like they live in a fantasy land. I feel bad. I feel bad for a lot of these people. It's going to be okay. Look, let's say this. Anything can happen, right? There could be a pandemic, where we could, right? Anything can happen. China could invade Taiwan. I think it would be a massive mistake, but I think that could happen too.
I think the odds of that happening have gone down significantly less with the result of last night.
I agree.
So last night I was watching results on X. I was not watching results on CNN or MSNBC. I get CNN on my HBO app or Fox. I was not watching returns that way. I was watching returns on X through a lot of data people on there. Throwing it out to a good Twitter mutual, Tonus. He's been watching early voting. And that's what I've been kind of keeping my eye on for like the last week and a half. And I knew that Republicans the entire time were going to be in a good position. And the reason why I thought that they were going to be in a good position was because we were matching Democrats on early voting, which was a voting trend that we had before going into 2016, kind of sort of going into 2020 a little bit. And then afterward, going into 2022, we, due to Donald Trump and the election conspiracy theories that he spread that we openly disagreed with on this podcast.
Because we're normal.
Where we criticized the people in our own party and held them accountable on the local level, like we always do. This time around, I do have to say our Get Out the Vote initiatives, they worked.
I was really nervous about this. Kudos to Scott Pressler in Pennsylvania.
Kudos to Elon Musk.
Yeah, kudos to Elon Musk and a lot of other people who hit the ground in the swing states. But I was very... What's that?
Hell is freezing over. Kudos to Charlie Kirk and their operation at Turning Point for their Get Out the Vote, turn in your ballot, bank your vote, all of that initiative, because it did work.
I think that's a fair point. Yep.
Severely to even admit it. But I do think they deserve credit.
How old is Kirk?
He's a little bit younger than I am.
Okay.
His wife and I are the same age, and he is younger than his wife.
Okay. So maybe barely 30, right? Something like
that?
No,
I think he's over 30 now. I think he's like 32.
He's still young. Look, I think he's done and said a lot of stupid shit, but he's not a dummy. He sometimes, I go back and forth. Like, he'll impress me two times in a row. And then like a third time I go, oh God, so
like
maybe
stupid.
yeah, the law of averages, maybe he'll get to, he'll get to 80-90% in the next few years as he matures and maybe starts a family and those good things. But
Yeah, guys,
kudos to all the people on the ground that made something
men don't
happen.
mature until 35. But anyway,
I think that's true.
the ground people really worked their buns off. On a local level here, Jeff.
In
Massachusetts.
So let's get into that. Let's get into that first because we got to cover that so we don't forget it. I tweeted this out earlier. Congrats and thank yous to Amy Carnevale, Logan Trumpiano, John Milligan, everybody at Mass GOP, and the candidates who did a great job. Just did a great job. We picked up one Senate seat or two.
Kelly Dooner.
Kelly Dooner. So that's a net one for us, and I think 3 House seats, 3 rep seats
out of Bristol County. And from what I was looking at hours ago, Trump was like 13 votes behind, flipping Bristol County.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've said this for years. When the Mass GOP starts to win the races we can win and are supposed to win, that's when we'll be a real functioning party. There's dots of red all over the state,
and we are that's the thing.
And even if we top out at a solid, there's what 160 total seats, 40 senators, 120 reps.
Sounds right.
I guess I should know this, but something like that. But even if the max best case scenario is 50 theoretical seats, we should be honestly getting 40 of them. There was a time where we were close to hitting 40 or around 40. We can get back to those areas. There's enough of that in Massachusetts where we could get a solid, maybe slight coalition with some Dems to block a veto or to override a veto or something like that down the road. It is possible, and you got to chip away at this. So a big shout out to them. They did the hard work. They ground it out. Again, the groundwork, but good campaigning, and did it and got it done. And so kudos to them. Big congratulations.
Yeah, I was really proud. I was watching again. I watched returns. I'm having a rough day. I watched returns until 2 a.m.
I didn't stay up that late. I think I was in bed a little after 11:30, and maybe I looked at my phone for a few minutes and then fell asleep. But I woke up early. And I feel hungover, and I didn't have a sip of alcohol. It's just,
I'm chugging water. I think because I stayed up so late that I have a cold coming on. But you know what? It was worth it, right? My thinking behind it was I needed to stay up to watch Pennsylvania being called, or essentially being called by my data people, and seeing what was left of the vote.
Yeah,
I stayed up long enough that Pennsylvania and Wisconsin were called, and that at that point it was done.
Well, I knew that. I mean, I think I stayed up to North Carolina, and then I was I faded out, and I think I heard about Pennsylvania right before I went to sleep, and then that was it.
But when we started getting those vote counts, it was becoming clear. It's like, no popular vote is within reach.
It's impressive.
Which is impressive. I mean, on this podcast, Jeff, you and I have criticized Donald Trump up and down. Have we not?
Of course. But
because
rightly so, as should every Republican. And because I think I want to get into this in a second, because this is something's different this time.
Right.
And I mean, before in 2016 and through 2020, the people that were fervent Trump backers, and this is very true, were living in another dimension. I mean, these were the people that told me, no, Trump's going to win Massachusetts. And I'm not lying. I had those conversations, those real face-to-face conversations with people who told me that. They're a different group. They were the former chairman of the party and his supporters of locally the Massachusetts party, who's gone now and basically relegated to obscurity, even though they're going to clamor. Like they're big fans of his, so everything he did nothing wrong. Where it was like, no, he did some stuff that wasn't good. And then he didn't deliver on the stuff he said he was going to do the first time around. But this time feels different. And I was talking to some friends who are definitely Trump skeptical. I talked to friends deep in the New York Democrat Party, and they voted for Trump. And
I mean,
they were they were just messaging me. And
did they tell you their reasoning behind doing that?
One was Vance. He's like, I like Vance, and I don't like her. Done. I'm voting for Trump. I was like, that's fair. That's cool. And
yeah, I mean, for me, I've been noticing a lot more in Massachusetts, I guess, in general, right? Like, again, I'm from the South. Like, I grew up in a red state. Coming out as a Republican there is like easy peasy lemon squeezy. Being a Republican here is a little bit different. And I'm open about being a Republican. I just want to make sure everyone's clear. Like in my actual life as a human being, I am openly Republican. I just don't talk politics all the time. And open talk about supporting Trump. And this started for me probably in the spring. A lot of people openly talking about it. And especially when we all knew Biden was his health and well-being were in question. And then the Democrats tried to say that that's not in question. It's like, you are lying to us. That is in question. He is not a functional human being anymore. And then going in to the debate, I think that was a real changing turning point where people were like, "Oh my!" Of
course,
God.
Yeah, that's when. I mean, they knew what the rest of us knew by that point.
I also think another big point was the assassination attempt. For me, that's when I definitely knew I was voting for Trump. I knew I was voting for Trump at that point because a person I was close to at that time basically said, "I wish he would have gotten shot." And I was like, you and I have the same morality. I am voting for him.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second. Because the title of this episode is Everything is Going to Be Okay. And everything is going to be okay. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another crack at it before he takes office. We'll see.
I mean, the Iranians are openly trying to target Donald Trump and his personal safety.
Well, that's different. I mean, I'm talking internal from the lefty kooks. I don't think for a second they wouldn't try again if they could. For years, look, I was greeted to, you go to, like, Facebook is wild because Facebook is people who are not, if they post all the time on Facebook and kind of only on Facebook, they're not on this platform, on X, they're in another reality. And Elon Musk talked about this on Joe Rogan the other day. And Rogan mentioned this too. He thanked Elon Musk. I'm so grateful for Elon Musk. So grateful. Forget about rocket ships and Tesla. Him buying Twitter, and I'm not exaggerating here, I think arguably saved the country. It's one of the biggest moves in the world. They wanted to relegate speech and regulate speech and shut speech down. They are fascists in the truest sense of the word.
Think about the employee at Twitter. Think about the employee at Twitter that put a hold on the Babylon Bee.
Right.
And that's what caused this chain of events.
Yeah. The smallest little things.
I think you and I have, over the course of us doing this podcast, right? Like we're over 100 episodes in now. We've talked about the excesses of the left, right? And how the various things about it, the privilege of it, the insanity of it, all of that. Okay. And this has been over the course of time, but you and I have also noticed this rightward shift of the country. Okay. We picked up on that. Because, culture is downstream of politics. Politics is downstream of culture. They're very connected. And so I think kind of when that happened, there was a shift. Because at that point when he did it, you see a shift in like Mark Zuckerberg, right? Like for Facebook. And maybe Facebook is still doing what they're doing on their end. I'm not seeing it,
no, but you're not, because Facebook is 100% doing it. What Facebook needs now, if they're going to compete with X, and X is only going to get better, if they're really going to compete with X, they're going to have to put in some sort of community notes nonsense. Because I had like family members sharing like Blue Wave 2024, just lies. Just lies. They're just flat out fucking lies. Bullshit. And I don't want to be I'm like, it's like exhausting to be the one commenting, no, this isn't true. And they're like, well, I believe it's true. It's just like, get a community note feature in there that just a big fat message that says this has been debunked. You got it, and they get read it.
Which has been kind of the funniest feature of X, right? Yeah. Like that's the thing. That's been one of the funniest features added to X over time, because I think, you know, we can talk about the media overall and the legacy of media, because, you know, we haven't been able to speak. We haven't been able to speak in a while. But like the Washington Post not doing an endorsement. Yeah, like how big was that? And you know, the journals on X, they get community noted when they are partisan hacks, liberal hacks, and they're wrong. And they should be community noted.
Well, it happened.
They're angry over a democratization of journalism.
Because they were on X. Caitlin, because they were the gatekeepers. And there was a time, and there's still a part of me, because I know enough of them. I met enough of them and been on the shows, and I used to do TV. And I have friendly enough with enough of them, where I sit there and I go, how many fucking times did I tell you guys, you're just not getting it. You need to have more conservatives in your organization do it. Deaf ears, ignore, whatever. They're dead. It died last night. The legacy media died last night, and the corpse may continue to rot, but it'll only smell. The stink's only going to get worse. They can't fix themselves. It's not happening. Don't even bother.
Continue to scream, bitch, moan,
and they'll
it's not going to work, because no one listens to you anymore. They do listen to Jeff Bezos come in and say, I want a partisan newspaper that I own. Or I want a nonpartisan newspaper that I own. Yeah. And guess what? That's a protection of actual journalistic integrity and ethics.
Correct.
Like saying it should be nonpartisan, it should be unbiased, it should be objective. That is a protection of your actual journalistic integrity. I don't give a shit what Jen Rubin cries about in the Washington Post op-ed section or editorial section, where she's just going to opine about, I don't know, drinking wine and how much Donald Trump sucks all day long. I don't want to read this.
They are hopelessly and hilariously, and I've borrowed that from Sam Jackson in the Avengers, hopelessly and hilariously out of touch with regular people, and so fucking biased in what they do that they don't even know they're biased. They don't think of it as they don't even think of it as opinion. They just think of it as the truth, like liberalism in their brain, because they surround themselves with it, is just truth. They wake up in the morning, they have their coffee or their latte. They listen to NPR and on the drive-in if they drive in or take the T. If they're working from home, they listen to it on their computer. When they get there, they read the New York Times.
I can't imagine.
But this is their life.
Yeah.
This is all they know. It's Heather Cox Richardson. Like, she is a hysterical loon. Go back onto her Facebook page, and I'm not kidding, if you want to torture yourself, and just read through her daily diatribes. It's a river of insanity. She's talking about, I'm not even kidding. She went on and she talked about how because Donald Trump wore a dark suit and a gold tie, it was a signal that it was the colors of the Proud Boys. No, I'm not joking. I mean, this is tinfoil hat shit. She's out of her mind, but she has millions of followers, and she doesn't get community noted. and she's taken seriously. She reads Slate and Jacobin, and this is like the news she
I'm
consumes. And
currently
all
going.
these people are in this bubble, and they have no fucking clue. 2 days ago, our good friend Anthony Amore, God rest his soul, he
Who we
tweeted from
talk
the grave. He tweeted from the grave at Dan Kennedy, who fell for this
we
manipulated
still talk
video.
to on a regular basis, by the way.
Of course, I'm kidding. And he's probably watching right now. The ghost of him is watching. No, but he tweeted, Dan Kennedy fell for this thing where they said Donald Trump was, how dare he was simulating oral sex on the stage because he manipulated the mic. The mic was like too low, and they took like 6 seconds or less than that of him just moving the microphone stand and moving. Can't hear me, and they made it play out like it. And for like, if you just saw that 2 seconds and you were generous with it, you could say, oh, that's kind of gross, he didn't do that. But then Evan Lips replied back to him on that and played the full clip, and I watched it. It was 2 minutes, and in context, there's nothing wrong. He was genuinely talking about how he couldn't get a good microphone at the rally. That was it. And Dan Kennedy fucking fell for it. He fucking fell for it. And they fucking lied, and they went with it. And he's a professor of journalism at Northeastern University. I know because I guest lectured in front of his class. Okay? This is the fucking level of people we're dealing with here. They fall for this shit, and then they run with this shit. And it was a lie, and they never give a like the good people on both sides, very fine people on both sides. Absolute lie, bullshit, hoax. Obama and Harris campaigned on that for the last 2 months at every rally. Not one fucking journo said a thing. Not a thing. Nothing. It's just all they are. You're not serious people. You're not serious people. This right here, what you're watching on X Live, we'll put it on YouTube. Those are the only 2 platforms. YouTube's suspect a little bit, but X is it, man. Get used to it. It is going to be the place. It is where, and all these sanctimonious liberals are now, I'm leaving this platform. You can find me on Blue Sky. Go, whatever. Go make yourself feel better in irrelevant.
They always return.
They always come back.
Because they love the hellhole. And trust me, you can't handle the asylum that made me. Yeah. Okay? Like, I'm staying here forever, baby.
Twitter's like, well, one, I call it X.
I still call it Twitter.
It's Twitter. I know, Elon. I know we tried. It's cool, but it doesn't roll. You don't say it right. It just doesn't roll off the tongue correctly. Whatever. This is the best site out there. It's fantastic. You get the truth, capital T, not the lie.
And it's funny. It's like honest. I love all the. I laugh going through viral memes and stuff all the time on X. Like, it's funnier than hell.
Oh my God. You can find funny videos kind of anywhere, but like, where else can you get astute political analysis by Red Steez, and then you scroll down and a dolphin hits a surfer in the wave? Like, come on. It's perfection. It hits my dopamine receptors wonderfully.
Absolutely.
There's no better platform. It just.
I was scrolling like all day today, like, because you want to see what the reactions are, and the reactions were great, Joe.
Yeah.
The reaction. I will not say it. How can I say? Was it the same as 2016? I don't know.
No, it was better. It's better. Okay, so one, Elon's going to be involved in some way. So getting back to like a little bit on what we were talking about, it is different this time, right?
Guys, Massachusetts as a whole state shifted right, FYI. Yeah. I just want to everyone be clear.
It's
where
true.
I used to live in Salem precinct, 65% Hispanic, shifted 40 points in 12 years away from Democrats. That's insane.
And it's going to continue. Because I don't think Democrats and the journos are capable of self-correction. I
Nope.
think if you are indoctrinated and robbed of the ability to think freely in college, and then you graduate, and then you get a job where you're in the monoculture and there's no heterodox opinion, you've lacked the skill set, and you have not developed the muscle memory to understand differences of opinion. You only are wired to shut down. So it's going to get worse for them, but for the people who kind of make through and really wake up, it's going to get better. It will get better. Now we'll float around with this, but the top two things I want now, this is Jeff's wish list, and it has to happen. Two things, they have to happen. Cut spending. Now, I know, Elon, I will volunteer for the Department of Government Efficiency for Doge. I'd love to put in my resume and run it and just start taking an axe to stuff. It's going to be great. But I'd volunteer for that job because I hate it. I hate the spending and the waste so much. We got to cut spending. The federal government is consuming too much of the cash in the market. It's the driver of inflation. It's why things are the way they are, because we're printing money because we're spending money, and we need to stop spending the money. That needs to be cut dramatically. And it'll be a good thing in short order. So that has to happen. Step 2, build the wall. Build the motherfucking wall. Okay? No excuses. Are we taking the house? Are we taking back the house, right? We're keeping the house?
It looks like we are.
Okay, beautiful.
I would just want to say, going into this election, I would have been happy if we had only won the Senate. I love divided government, but it looks like we're going to get a trifecta.
Yeah.
And so, which was not something I expected, by the way, at all. Going into this, everything was very 50-50 in the polls. Looking at everything together with the averages, I look at RCP, and I also looked at Nate Silver's newer model. I think he did a really good job on it. I knew that my gut, and I actually kept this from you, Jeff, my gut the entire time was saying Donald Trump was going to win the election.
You were wishy-washy 50-50.
My gut was saying Trump, though.
Well, and I didn't
I don't like doing predictions.
Yeah, but that's the fun part of it. Okay. Look, a few weeks ago we were on the show, and I said I'm feeling more optimistic, and I was, because it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. But if you talked to me 6 or 7 weeks ago, and I'm confident in this, 6 or 7 weeks ago, where the allure of Kamala hadn't started to wane, and she was still riding high off of like a good debate performance and all that. If the election was held then, I'm not sure that 1% in Pennsylvania makes it over the line. You know, a
lot of voters made their decision within the last 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think Kamala peaked at the beginning way too hard. Guys,
let's play the blame game. She was in a tough spot from the beginning. The Democrats fucked themselves, and I was messaging.
You're giving her way too much credit, because
hang on. No, I've just only begun.
My personal opinion on Kamala is that the glowing reviews of the media were obviously fake and very, very manufactured, and that she was a phony and inauthentic, very vibes based, but the vibes came off like a fake Louis Vuitton.
Yeah,
and so when you ride that high, you ride it for a while, and then it's obviously starts to come down. The Democrats made the mistake of keeping her in like a basement and not doing interviews for a long time.
No, I'm sorry, I disagree.
Why?
Because like Michael Malice said, she's retarded. Charlie Cook put it more nicely in NRO. She's an idiot.
Yeah, but people.
And I'm not saying that like she's a functional idiot. She's truly can't. Think about the word.
She's not Hillary. She's not Hillary. You can say a lot about Hillary Clinton, but to say that she is stupid is not one of those.
No, Hillary Clinton
is very highly intelligent.
Yeah,
She is just
I mean, she's
asshole.
a whole bunch of other things, but she's dumb is not one of those.
Right.
Okay, but
I actually think the same of Nancy Pelosi. She is not dumb. She is ruthless and very merciless.
Yeah.
But Kamala
she's an idiot. She's an idiot.
But I do think that people, when you sit in front of an interview, it makes you seem like a real person, and like people like that now. With Donald Trump, when he sat in front of and did all of those podcasts over the course of the time, he got the men vote. You know, he got the Gen Z male vote, which is crazy. I mean, it made him seem like a cool person. Like, that's the thing. Like, that kind of stuff is relatable. I think that Kamala, she did make a few mistakes along the way. I think that her sitting down to do Call Her Daddy during the middle of a horrific 2 hurricane hit probably ended up hurting her in Georgia and in North Carolina.
But,
I do think
if she just did, she did just do that. But this is part of the thing. She went on softball shows. She could have made up for it if she was into
end up hurting her because of the scandal of them kind of changing a lot of the things in the interview.
Yeah, of course, all of it. But because it goes to it's a circular logical loop, Caitlin, and it all goes back to the fact that she's an idiot. She can't. You understand? It's like I've used this analogy before when there's been stuff. It's like the Patriots right now suck. And they're like, Jeff, we need you, buddy. Can you come in and play running back for the Patriots? And I'd be like, hey, you know what? I've never played running back at all. I don't think I'd do a good job as running back for the Patriots. Yeah, Jeff, but come on in anyway. And then I suit up. I put the pads on. First possession, they give me the ball and I run forward. And do you know what happens? I get destroyed because I'm not a running back, because I'm not capable of being a running back in the NFL. And then I get up and I barely survive that, Caitlin. And I get up again and they're like, Jeff, come on, you can really try this time. And like, no, you don't understand. I'm not capable of being a running back in the NFL.
You're too tall and lean to be running back football.
But she's not capable of doing anything other than a fluff interview with Call Her Daddy. 60 Minutes protected her. People are like, she should have done Rogan. No, she shouldn't have. They knew. The campaign knew what they were dealing with. Okay? There's a reason why the word salad, whenever she spoke, like, it wasn't gonna happen. She's bad.
Well, yes. Again, I find her to be very, very inauthentic. Okay, like, I do not find her relatable at all. I think that her husband is very, very, very creepy. And I think that Tim Walz he called himself a knucklehead. I guess that's appropriate, but like,
yeah.
She did not close out the campaign with a vision. Let's say it that way. Like, when you go into the last 2 to 3 weeks of this, okay, and everyone focused on Donald Trump going to Madison Square Garden and that one comic making that joke and all this other stuff. He talked about the issues that we care about. He talked about the fact that the Biden administration passed a stimulus bill that caused us to have inflation. He talked about immigration. Okay, that affects us even here because the state of Massachusetts, in a lot of areas and a lot of towns, are sanctuary cities. Mm-hmm. And it's affecting us because they're spending our state money on that.
Yeah, over $1 billion.
We went from a surplus to a deficit, by the way.
Yep.
So, those type of things affect me. They affect, like, me as a taxpayer. And Kamala couldn't even endorse Jeff. This weekend, I was in the airport in Cincinnati visiting my sister because I was in Ohio. Mm-hmm. My sister ended up voting for Trump. after a liberal woman in her group chat said that he should be shot. Mm-hmm. And my sister was just like, we don't share. It was the same as me. We don't share the same morality, and I would never say that about Kamala. I would never.
No, never.
But
same. At the same time, I don't. Yeah.
Cincinnati Airport, and Kamala can't even endorse Prop 36, which is going to help stop all this bullshit crime in California.
But
she couldn't. She would not have lost one vote in California, Jeff. Would not have lost one Democratic vote in California endorsing this Prop 36, but she did it to pander to the extreme left, and it's bullshit.
She did, but why didn't she didn't give a response on how she voted. She didn't even neglect to endorse it. She wouldn't say what she voted on it.
Which is
why? Why?
Because she voted no.
Because she's an idiot.
Well, idiots would vote no on that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that's my point. If you want to be president, you should know, like, she's not smart enough to know that the Prop 31 or whatever it was in California, 36, Prop 36 was something that was going to pass. It's a good thing. Crime's bad in California. Let's vote for it. Let's say you vote for it. Done. She's an idiot. I'm debating, like, for right now, for me, now it's like game time. Let's take out Maura Healey. Let's go. That's what I'm going to be focused on. Like, I'm ready. Some people are tired. I'm fired up.
I am tired in a sense, but I will probably be fired up by next week.
I'm going to be fired up.
I'm excited that the Republican Party did so well yesterday. Don't get me wrong. I am physically tired, but I am very excited. I'm very excited with the Senate candidates that we won with. We're taking back the Senate, guys. And now that we have won the presidency, Samuel Alito, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito, and Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas can retire potentially, hopefully.
Well, hey, Kaylin, hang on a second. Before we get too far into this, I saw something online that was very interesting today.
What?
I think it would be a great idea.
They better not RBG this shit, guys.
No.
I'm sorry.
I think it would be a great idea to put forward bipartisan legislation that expands and reforms the Supreme Court.
I mean, Chuck Schumer
at the same time as we remove the filibuster. Wouldn't that be a great idea? But, what we would do is we we would keep the same process of nominating judges that are nominated by the president and approved by the Senate. But this time we would have a reformed, expanded Supreme Court.
It's so
like
crazy.
Say 15 judges total, right? We'll go from 9 to 15. We'll add 6. I think that's pretty good. And Alito and Thomas can retire. They'll all be younger than me.
And they're all a part of the Federalist Society.
What do we do? This is going to be bipartisanship. Let's do it. Let's expand the Supreme Court.
I think so many Democrats were so shocked at the results from last night because they've been talking for how many years, Jeff? Like, how many years about the emerging Democratic majority? The Republicans will never win the popular vote again. And they just did.
Yeah.
By a lot. And it's a mandate. And so, it's like you've been promoting this stuff for so long, but now you're going to be in the minority and you just got your ass whooped.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. No, let's.
Your opinion suddenly changed so hard.
It's wild. I think I'm going to go back and find a bunch of Ed Markey's old tweets about packing the Supreme Court.
Oh, I did.
And I'm going to be like, let's do it. I agree. It's time for change. It's time for reform.
Someone responded to an old comment that I made on Ed Markey's post. Let me find it because my comment was funny. I think I said something like, "You're so crazy, you fucking baby," or something. Ed Markey. In typical Caitlyn fashion. And, it's just like, like, and Markey, God love him. Maybe God doesn't love him. I don't know. Um,
Well,
he says some crazy ass shit.
he's a moron too. I mean, less so. He can form a complete sentence. But he's well, he'll be like 80 or 81 come 2026 when he's up. I'll save my predictions for that seat for a future episode, but I don't know
Well,
if I
I
don't
mean,
know if he's gonna be the Democratic nominee.
they put Charlie Baker and
Mm-hmm.
Markey into a pool together.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I would draft Charlie Baker to return to
Well,
politics, but I would say, oh, that's a pretty interesting result.
let me say this. One, I don't think he'd do it.
No,
I
I
mean, look,
don't.
I'm not BFFs with the governor, but I've had enough conversations with the guy over time, and at political, call it at best, it's a political acquaintance. You know, last time I saw him, were you at the event where maybe you were there, but last time I saw him, he was like looking thin and relaxed and happy and showing me pictures of his grandkid, and he's president of the NCAA sports. You know, you've done all you can. You want that headache of another campaign? I mean, maybe you do. Like, look, we're in this for life, and when you start running your campaigns and you get into it, like even when I ran for state committee, I'm like, all right, this is fun. And we got more Healy and some other stuff coming up in 2 years, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So I can see the appeal of it. I get it if you're in it, but at the same time, Charlie Baker's 20 years older than me. If you're knocking on 70 and you've got a good life, you got grandkids, but also the kids are all out of the house. It's like, what do you want to do? You want to just chill, or do you want to go for it? I don't know. I mean, that's a really big decision. So
I think I mean, the NCAA would be a sweet job, right? Like
oh
they
my
hired
god, like the only way it could get better is if you were the
and they
commit.
allowed him to stay at his
Yeah,
house. They allowed him to stay here. I think that it's a pretty sweet job, and they hired him for a reason. I think that he's navigating a lot of big
and there's a lot of stuff to do there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's navigating a lot of big issues at the NC2A that he's doing a job at. They wanted him for a reason. But it is interesting that a Baker moderate would win the Senate here. And I think that would be the case.
I want to say, hang on, that's not a guarantee. Okay, because Massachusetts is weird. We haven't sent anybody federally till Scott Brown, but Baker would be the good test case. And if he couldn't do it, you would need something.
I think Karen Polito needs to start thinking about a congressional seat on the South Shore and the Cape. That it would be something that I would say that she probably needs to start considering.
Well, she lives in Central Mass. She'd have to move, but I don't think she.
Well, she owns a house there.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll change the residency. There you go. She owns a house. Look, that's all possible. But look, Baker winning against Markey. Markey's not well liked. He's not well liked. He's not Elizabeth Warren. He doesn't have the cachet.
Jeff, we hear so many stories about former Markey fans they're like so rabid and crazy. It's like, how does this guy?
Some are going to jail.
Some are going to jail for trying to bomb Israeli defense companies.
Yep.
I kind of feel bad for that person, I will say, because they're so brainwashed. I'm sorry.
Do not. Nope. They're an adult.
I do agree with that. I agree with the fact that they're adult, they're making their own decisions, but they're so brainwashed. It's like
they've gone down an evil path. Fuck them.
Okay.
No, straight up, they're a bad person, and I mean that in the an evil sense of the word. They're a nefarious person, and they're gonna get what's coming to them one way or another.
And the adults around that person should have.
Yeah. But all right, well, that'd be potential. But if I was betting, I would say I don't know who floated that poll. If Baker people themselves did it, or if somebody was just screwing around to try to entice them, But I don't, maybe but odds are somebody else did it just to see what would happen. And maybe Baker did it himself, which if he did, okay, cool.
Just
And we'll know soon enough. We'll know soon enough. Like you and I will know enough people that will start hearing buzz. But I would be surprised to see him throw his hat in the ring. You got a sweet gig. You got the grandkids. I mean,
should we talk about also, as we're talking about Massachusetts politics and Governor Charlie Baker performing well in a poll against Ed Markey for 2026? Should we talk about New Hampshire on this?
Oh, yeah. Congrats to Kelly Ayotte. This is a kick in the teeth to Maura Healey, because the woman, Maura Healey, has been anywhere but Massachusetts for the past 2 months, campaigning both for the federal level and up in New Hampshire, trying to get. And this is the other part. This is how clueless. Let me give you some friendly advice to the Democrats in this state, because a fair amount of them watch this show. When the Republican nominee for governor in New Hampshire says, let's not Massachusetts, New Hampshire, you, as the Democrat nominee for the governor of New Hampshire, should not be inviting the Massachusetts governor to campaign with you. Like, that should just sort of send a signal that because Kelly Ayotte wants Maura Healey to come to New Hampshire and campaign for it. And they opened up their arms and said, come on up. I just, the complete lack of self-awareness is hilarious to me. And Kelly Ayotte crushed. She beat her by like 8 points, I think.
Yeah, it was a commanding victory. I thought it was going to be maybe +2, +8. She did fantastic. I think, what was the final tally on the House races in
the like state rep, the New Hampshire House rep? It was like something like 222 to 100. Like, very, they have weird. I forget what they're like, but it was call it a landslide, a New Hampshire landslide, other than president. Like the state offices, I should say. I don't think they won the congressional offices.
Yeah. The congressional offices still went Dem, but the governor and state houses went Republican. It was a shift R down ballot. We did amazing. So shout out to New Hampshire GOP. Y'all killed it as well. As you can tell, if you look at kind of the shifts from the New York Times, New England shifted right.
Yeah, it's going to keep happening, because they're not, what I'm noticing, and I'm going to wrap up with this. I've noticed that there's some glimmers of hope for the Democratic Party, where I saw it on clip from, I want to say MSNBC, where they're like, what needs to happen? And some woman said, they need to dump the progressives.
They're not going.
That was it. They just ended it.
Like, they're not going to.
So they're not going to, which is good for us, but bad for the country, bad for them.
I hate saying it like that. The Dems will not learn the right lesson. They immediately started calling Republicans Hitler.
Yep. Well, I'm seeing it in my personal life too.
And the Gen Z kids, they start calling them the Hitler Youth. They're going to shit on the progressives for 2 weeks, and then they're going to start putting, their pronouns back in their bios, and then start regurgitating their garbage.
Yeah.
That is what they're going to do. They're not going to learn a damn thing. They're not going to shift any position to more Bill Clintonite, third way position. The closest that they could have gotten to that was Biden, to be quite honest. But they're not going to shift back to that. I don't think.
I mean, but they're out there. Let me just say this for the record. A moderate Democratic Party kicks the shit out of Republicans up and down, left and right, across the board. I mean, your congressman, unfortunately, even though he's pretty liberal, he's a Massachusetts Democrat, but for a Massachusetts Democrat, he's not as progressive. Former Marine, like the Josh Shapiro's, the Shapiro in Pennsylvania, Fetterman, right?
I find Seth Moulton to be pretty progressive. He does put his office in Salem for a reason.
Relatively speaking. call it relatively speaking. But
And Salem is like very insanely progressive, my
but
friends.
if they listened more to the John Fettermans and the
But what makes John Fetterman more appealing? He's willing to buck his own party on certain issues.
right.
Same with Jared Golden and in Maine too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like same with really no one else.
Yeah, well, there's not that many, they're there, but they're quiet. What I'm saying is though, if though you know, head to head across all the swing states, maybe not in the deep red states, they clean our clock. They clean our clock, but they don't. They go for but the hard left is taking over the party, and what the thought experiment I'll leave people with for this episode. You know, for months we heard democracy is at stake, and it's like we knew that we did a whole episode. It's pinned to my X profile that no, calm down, democracy is not at stake. Okay, if everybody in your progressive orbit starts talking about the next election in 2 years and keep fighting, well, that means democracy wasn't at stake, right? And that means you were wrong. And if that means you were wrong about democracy not being at stake, maybe just for a second, think about it. You might be wrong about something else. Like Donald Trump is not Hitler, Antichrist, Satan. The people who support him aren't fascists and Nazis. Maybe you're wrong. Consider that fact, right? Just think about it. And if you think about it, you might come to the conclusion that you were wrong and that it's just kind of politics and you don't agree with the guy and you should do a better job at elections. And if you can wake up and do that, you might have a future. Other than that, we're going to be the normals and we're going to be around for a long, long time.
Yes. Again, this morning when I was talking about the election with just my peer group, I talked about how I did vote for Trump and the election result didn't surprise me. And I said, one of the main reasons I did vote for him is because of Taiwan and foreign policy. And then my peers talked about the new trans rep from Delaware, and I'm like, yeah, I'm the normal one here. And I'm going to be here for a long time. So I want to say that this was kind of a revenge of the normals a little bit, right? Because we did end up voting for Trump. Suburban white women ended up voting for Trump. Crazy enough. And we just want a focus on actual kitchen table issues. We want an actual focus on the issue. We want actual good governance. And the Democrats have proven to us over the last 4 years that they cannot do that. And so what happened on Tuesday was a complete brush off of the Democratic Party. Thoroughly. It was a wrong thing. And, it will be a new day in America. We are still here and everything is going to be okay. The sun was shining bright when I woke up this morning.
It was 80 degrees in November, man. It's awesome.
I had a smile on my face and everything moved forward the way that it should.
Yeah.
So everything will be okay, guys. We're going to still be here because we're commenting on a Biden presidency. It's going to be kind of fun to comment on a Trump presidency.
I can promise the audience and everybody this. If I don't agree with something Trump is doing or saying, I'm going to say it. And at the same token, if I agree with something he's doing or the media lies about something he's saying or doing, I'm going to call them on it too. And I'm going to support Trump when I think he's right, just like it has been for over 8 years. And Ben Shapiro and the rest of the crew at the Daily Wire, when he's right, I'm going to say I think he's right and why I think he's right. When he's wrong, I'm going to say he's wrong and why I think he's wrong. And that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what
I'll make the balls and strikes.
That's what it is.
And I think That's important. And we hold him accountable, right? Like we gave him the popular vote this time around. Um, Not that the popular vote counts, but it does give a mandate. And so again, everything will be
yeah,
okay, my
it's
friends.
gonna
That's
be.
kind of what I
This is.
depend on.
But
Like,
this is why. But Caitlin, this is like a unique thing because this is wild in the sense. I know we keep going, but whatever. Um, he's he's a lame duck
he
with
is
with both chambers of Congress
for the first 2 years. Yep.
for 2 years. I mean, as a lame duck, it's like you can do anything. We can get so much done. There's just let's go. It's like you don't have to worry about reelection. Just go out and do the stuff you want to do, and just get it done.
We're going to see Donald Trump be the president of the United States as the 250th anniversary of the United States happens.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
it's going to be an awesome party, guys.
That's gonna be a cool party. I'll be turning 50.
Because there's Boston is going to be having a lot of events because our country, our revolution started here.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, July 4th. July 4th,
and
2026. All right, we got to
I
start
am
planning
in
the party now.
I'm a part of it. So it's going to be very fun.
Yeah.
Again, what I said this morning, I tweeted this. Our country is so amazing. I believe that every single day. I don't care who the president is. I don't care who represents me, what political party they are. Our country is great. Sometimes we make mistakes as a country. Sometimes we do good as a country. But we are still great. We are the greatest country in the world. And I think everybody here, if you're watching this or whatever, don't be afraid to travel this great country and see everything. Talk to people different than you. Go eat at a diner, like in the middle of the rules, just to understand everything. And that's what makes this country great, is the ability to even do that, the ability to have that mobility to do that. So again, everything will be okay. We're America. We got this. I'm honestly, I feel like we're on a forward, better path than we have been in a long time.
Agreed. All right, folks. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.